In the last stream, we were working on making our way through the Under the Sea questline. We started off by heading through to the Deep Dark. We finally managed to defeat the Warden once we got a high enough level of Warden Smite. That allowed us to head on through into the other side dimension from the deeper and darker mod, which allowed us to gather some of these right here, the Echo Shards, along with a few blocks of Ancient Skulk, and those two combined are what are going to allow us today to begin automating the production of skulking organic matter, and that skulking organic matter is what's going to allow us to begin automating the production of gold and silver. Once we have gold and silver automated, that's going to unlock the Electrum Edge for us. Electrum, for those who don't know, is an alloy made with gold and silver, and so once we have that, we can begin making the machine frames from thermal expansion. That's going to open up a whole new realm of machines for us to work with, and of course, just a whole new edge in the questline here. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I do want to do a little bit of work in today's stream, kind of almost redoing this setup right here, because currently it's a little slow, it's a little janky, and it's not fully automated. I want to change all of those. The reason it's a little janky is kind of twofold. The first thing is the crafting automat. The crafting automat is a super cheap block, but it's not the greatest block in the world because you can't lock the inventory slots at the bottom here, which means it's going to fill up very quickly with whatever item you're producing more of. In this case, it's stone pebbles and flint, and so right now there's no space for any of the dust to make its way in there, and so despite the fact that we have a large amount of dust in this barrel here from our dust sifting, we can't actually craft any more of the poor transformational powder because there are no slots available. Now, thankfully, in a recent update to the pack, Ben did add a way to fix this, and that comes in the form of a new crafting table. If we go ahead and grab some wood here, what we should be able to do is craft up a bunch of regular crafting tables, craft those into the crafting automat, and then we can craft the crafting automat into the structural crafter. We looked at this a little bit at the end of the last stream, and the general premise here is that you can do in-world crafting using this block. For example, if I place a chest down here, I can put the structured crafter. If I shift right click it onto the side of the chest, it points at the chest. You want it to point at your output inventory. And then on this side, you can just go ahead and, for example, put down a log. And what this is going to do is this is going to craft this log into planks when it receives a redstone signal. So real quick, if we grab a lever, we can place that lever down like so. And if we turn this on, it's going to take that piece of wood, I believe, and craft it into planks. Okay, so this doesn't work, but there's a reason why this doesn't work, and that's because the structured crafter actually has access to a 3x3 area. What I mean by that is that the structured crafter looks for a recipe, and when it's looking for a recipe, basically, if we move this up by one, it looks for a recipe here. So these 9 blocks are where it's looking for a recipe, right? And so right then, when I had it on the ground, it was looking at the driftwood slabs and the logs, and it was saying that no, there's no recipe that combines driftwood slabs and logs. Now that we've moved it up by one, what we should be able to do is the same thing again, place down these spruce logs, give it a redstone signal, and boom, it has crafted that log into planks. In and of itself, pretty cool, but not super useful. The way this gets even more useful is that you can use inventories instead of blocks in the crafting section. And so, for example, if we were to go ahead and get a couple of regular old storage drawers here, let's say 9 of them, what we can do is we can take those 9 drawers and place those in the 3x3 area that the structured crafter has access to. Now what we can do is we can place the items that we want to craft in those drawers. For example, if we take some flint, some pebbles, and some dust, what we can do here is we can place the flint in the middle, like so. We can place the pebbles around the flint, like that, and then we can place the dust in the drawers around that. And now what this is going to do is the structured crafter is going to look at what is in all of these drawers, and it's going to see if there is a valid crafting recipe with what's here. And if there is, it's going to take those items and craft it. So now, if we go ahead and turn this on, we should see poor transformational powder being crafted, and it's going to slowly but surely pull all of the flint, all of the stone pebbles, and all of the dust out of these drawers over and into this chest. This is super cool because it means what we can do is we can export each specific item to each specific drawer, for example, dust to the corners, pebbles to the sides, and flint to the middle, and we should never end up in a situation where there's no space for any one of these 3 items to go into their respective drawers. Of course, if we were going to do this on a long-term scale, we would want to lock the drawers to make sure that no funkiness happened where we ended up with the wrong thing in the wrong drawer. We did purchase the drawer key in a previous stream, and so we could just lock them like this. And of course, we've got to lock the dust drawers to dust as well. And I think what we're going to do is implement this a few times to make all of the different poor transformational powders that we have available to us. And I think a good idea for us here is going to be to limit how many of each item can go in a drawer. Up until now, we have only used 2 drawer upgrades. We have used the tier 5 storage upgrade, which increases the storage amount by 32 times the base value, allowing this to hold a staggering amount of items. And we've also used the void upgrade, which will delete any excess items that are pumped into a drawer once any given slot is full. But there is actually another upgrade, which is kind of a downgrade, and that is this guy right here, the storage downgrade. It is not too hard to make, so we probably won't end up buying it. Instead, we'll just go ahead and make it because it's sticks, flint, and an upgrade template, which is just a drawer surrounded by sticks. You get 4 of those at a time. Putting this into a storage drawer reduces the base storage of that drawer to a single stack of items. And so if we were to put that upgrade into the flint drawer, and speaking of which, let's quickly grab a little bit of flint here and let's try and make at least one of these downgrades. Boom, and boom. So there is a storage downgrade. If we were to place this in here, this can now only hold a stack of flint at any given time. And so even if there is more than a stack of flint available to go into it, it actually can't take any more than a stack of flint, which is useful, I think. And so what I'm thinking we do here is I'm thinking we kind of change the way the system works. Right now, we have this barrel here, which, by the way, was overflowing between streams. There were just items spewing out on the floor and not being collected because this was full and the whole system was backed up. But right now, everything goes into this barrel and then waits in this barrel before it can go over and be crafted. I think we should change that. I think we should have all of the items that are generated from sifting gravel, import those into the simple storage network system, and then export them to whichever drawers they need to go to in order to be crafted into whichever powder it is we're making. I think the benefit of that is that we're going to be able to store all the excess resources that we generate. We can hook our simple storage network up to a drawer controller. That's going to allow us to store any excess flint or cobble or dust in a storage drawer, and that's also going to allow us to put void upgrades on those storage drawers so that if we ever do end up in a situation where we fill up on dust, flint, gravel, whatever it is in the future, the whole system doesn't slow down, doesn't start spewing items everywhere, and doesn't clog up. I think that's going to be the way to go, and I don't think it should be too difficult to set up. Now, the other thing that I do want to fix as well, or do want to change, is how we process cobble to gravel, gravel to sand, and sand into dust. Previously, at the end of the last episode, I mentioned replacing all of the flux hammers with pulverizers because I thought that would be faster. However, after doing a little bit of tinkering between streams, I no longer think that is the case because right now, even with the resonant upgrade, if we put 1 cobblestone in here, it takes about 3 seconds to transform 1 piece of cobblestone into 1 gravel, which is definitely faster than the flux hammer. Right now, the flux hammer takes 8 seconds to transform 1 piece of cobblestone into 1 gravel. However, if we go to the @xmachina mod here in JEI, there are 3 different tiers of upgrade that we can place into the flux hammer. The higher tier of these we can't make because we don't have diamonds and we don't have netherite, but the gold upgrade I believe we can make. We have glass, we have gold, we have the ability to make cactus and therefore green dye, and we also, I believe, have the ability to make cyan terracotta. And so with this gold upgrade, you can put up to 3 of these into any 1 hammer. If you do, that increases the number of items processed per cycle from 1 to 8. It goes up from 1 to 2 with 1 upgrade, from 2 to 4 with 2 upgrades, and from 4 to 8 with 3 upgrades. And so essentially we can do 8 cobblestone every 8 seconds, which equates to 1 cobblestone per second, making it 3 times faster than the pulverizer. And it also leaves room in the future to upgrade it even further because when we get the diamond upgrades, we can then go up to 64 items per process, and then even further with the netherite upgrade in the future. Now, I do also believe that in the newest update to the pack, Ben did add the ability to crush compressed cobblestone. Let me give that a try real quick. If we craft some cobblestone into cobblestone 1, aka compressed cobblestone, I don't know if we can break that with the regular ex nihilo hammer into 9 gravel. You totally can. That is very cool. So what we should then be able to do, I guess, is we should be able to take the compressed cobblestone, place that into a flux hammer. We can give this a try if we disconnect the current pipe that is there with our pipe wrench. And then let's just take all this cobblestone out for now and maybe put it back into here, although this is actually full on 2,000 cobblestone. So instead, let's go ahead and drop some of this into the system for the time being. If I were to place this in here, does that produce 9 gravel? It totally does. Nice. Okay, so it looks like this gets even crazier because the cobblestone 1, which is just compressed cobblestone, it's 9 cobblestone in one block, can be hammered down into 9 gravel, but you can take it further. You can then compress 9 cobble 1s into a cobble 2, which is effectively 81 cobblestone in one block, and that's still hammerable. And so if we were to just take a ton of the cobblestone we have here and craft that down like this into cobble 1, and by the way, if you just put your cobblestone in, you can then press this button here, balance grid, and that will even out all of the cobblestone that you've put in, which is very handy when you've got a lot of cobblestone like this that you want to craft down. And so if we take these, and then if we craft that down again into cobblestone 2, if we can get 9 cobblestone 2, we can then craft a cobblestone 3. The cobblestone 3 does show the hammer here, but the hammer doesn't show an output. I don't know if that's just because there's so much of it that we get, or if it's because we don't get anything. I will give this a try real quick, because if we can if we can hammer the highest tier of compressed cobblestone, that being, compressed cobblestone 9, then that might be the way to go. Maybe 9's a bit excessive because that is a ton of cobblestone. It would take forever to build up that backlog. But if we can, sift tier 3 cobblestone, it's going to be worth it from a power standpoint and an efficiency standpoint to do that as opposed to doing anything else. Do we have the ability to compress gravel? We totally do, and this is also hammerable as well. So we probably do want to reinvent our entire system here to produce the cobblestone, compress it, then sieve it, then take the gravel that's produced from that, compress it, and then sieve it, and then take the sand that is produced from that, and then compress that and sieve that as well. That seems like it's going to be the best way to go. You can also just press K with the cobblestone as well, and that will craft it down into compressed cobblestone automatically, and then you can do the same with the compressed cobble as well. So let's give this a try then. If we take a tier 3 cobblestone, if we put that into the old auto hammer here, is that going to produce a staggering amount of gravel for us, or is that going to produce nothing? It's going to produce a staggering amount of gravel for us. That is fantastic, and it kind of makes me think that it's probably not even worth crafting the upgrades. Like, we could make the upgrades, but the upgrades feel a little pointless now, because even if this was faster, there's only so much space inside of each flux hammer, right? And there's also only so fast we can sift as well. So I don't know if it's really necessary for us to upgrade these hammers. Instead, what we can probably do is we can probably grab the compacting drawer that we made a few streams back and use this as a way of automatically compressing our cobblestone, because the compacting drawer, much like a regular drawer, can hold items, but it will also kind of house those items in multiple forms. And so you'll see here that we've put regular cobblestone in here, but it's now showing us that we can also take that cobblestone out as either compressed cobblestone or double compressed cobblestone, which is super useful because this essentially acts as 2 automats, as 2 auto crafters. And so if we wanted to here, we could get another compacting drawer, but I don't know if it's going to be needed. I think double compressed cobblestone is probably going to be fine. And so really all I think we're going to have to do is just kind of move this back by 1 to make room for the compacting drawer. And then let's give it a try, actually. If we move this over to here, we're going to move it back by 2. We'll then place the resource generator on top of it, like so. And then we'll place the cobblestone on top of that. I think the big problem that we are going to run into is just how fast we can produce cobblestone. Right now, it's not coming in that fast. And although we can upgrade the tier 2 resource generator by placing like a block of gold on top of it, I still don't think that's going to be enough to get us that much cobblestone. So let's put the compacting drawer here, and then we are going to need to get a higher tier pipe upgrade because we need one that we can whitelist, right? Much like we did over here with our extraction for the trash can, we need to be able to whitelist to tell the pipe to only extract the double compressed cobblestone from the storage door. We don't want it trying to extract any other tier of cobblestone, right? We want to make sure we're getting the maximum efficiency here. Again, we might as well go up to the ultimate pipe upgrade just because it's so cheap to make. And then here, we'll set this to extract. We'll put in the ultimate pipe upgrade, like so. And then if we can get another double compressed cobblestone, we can then add that to the whitelist here, and that will be the only thing that is extracted. But of course, in order to make that happen, boom and boom. Again, we probably do want to craft up some more pipe upgrades for this, just because we do want to be moving quite a lot of cobblestone around into that compacting drawer, and ideally quite quickly. And then we have it. So let's take out one of the double compressed cobblestone. Let's add that to the whitelist, submit. And then now, if we go ahead and reconnect this over here, we should now see that the compressed cobblestone has made its way in. And then from there, that's going to go ahead and get sent around into the flux hammer. And it's probably at this point that it might also be worth replacing these barrels under here with storage drawers, because I feel like otherwise we're going to end up in a situation where these fill up quite fast. Although, what we could do here, actually, now that I think about it, is if we get another compacting drawer, we could place the compacting drawer directly beneath the flux hammer. And that way, when the gravel is deposited into that drawer, it will then become available in its compressed and double compressed form. And then we can just add a whitelist to this pipe here to extract that compressed gravel. So if we make two of these compacting drawers, we can then go ahead and replace the barrel here. This one is full of gravel, which is going to spew everywhere if I try and break that. So ideally, let's go ahead and take like all of that gravel out. Then let's break the barrel. And then we can replace that with a compacting drawer, like so. Now that should begin to fill up with gravel. And ideally here, we do want to make sure that we lock these drawers to their respective items. There's not really, I don't think, much of a chance of the wrong item making its way into here, but just in case it did, having it locked is going to make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier. So we'll put some gravel in there. Again, we'll make sure that is locked, like so. And then what we might be able to do here, because we're making so much gravel, sand, and dust now, is we might be able to get rid of this single pipe that is kind of round-robining between these two inventories. What we might be able to do is kind of disconnect, or get rid, I guess, of this pipe here, which is probably going to be easily done from the surface. There we go. And then if we just set this one here to extract, and again, we set that to extract double compressed gravel, and we do the same at the bottom here, but we set it to filter for regular gravel, what's going to happen there is that a lot of the double compressed gravel is going to make its way over into this flux hammer. That's going to get processed down into sand. And then the sand, we're currently sifting the sand, but I think going forward, we might just want to pulverize the sand, because the pulverizer gets us both sand dust, which we do need in order to produce the improved transformational powder, but it also produces dust as well. It produces the exact same amount of dust and sand dust. And so I think we can kind of get rid of this sifting system and get rid of this flux hammer and just place down at least one, if not multiple, pulverizers to begin producing for us the sand dust and the regular item dust. And because the pulverizers are not anywhere near as fast as the flux hammers, I'm hoping that we end up backing up this compacting drawer on gravel. And that's going to leave excess gravel for us to sift. That's the plan. So let's get rid of this guy here. And let's instead place our pulverizer there. Like that. We'll then grab two more pipe filters real quick. We already have one of them ready to go. We can upgrade that one to netherite. And then we can make a new one and upgrade that all the way to netherite. And then, as we mentioned, down here, we'll set this one to extract. And we'll filter it for just regular gravel. Submit. And then we'll take a double compressed gravel and we'll add that to the filter over here. So pipe upgrade, add double compressed cobblestone, submit. Then we could replace this down here with a compacting drawer that compacts sand into compressed sand, but I don't think that's necessary because I don't believe that we can pulverize the compressed sand. We can't. We could hammer it into dust, but again, I don't think there's much point in doing that. There's only a 50% chance of getting dust when you sift it. Even if we upgraded all of these to iron meshes, there's still only a 50% chance plus two 30% chances of getting dust from every dust block you sieve, whereas we're guaranteed to get dust from every sand that we pulverize, and we actually have a chance of getting 2 dust from every sand that we pulverize. So it's actually definitely more beneficial for us to do it that way. So let's set the pulverizer here to input from the left, which you do in the configuration tab, by the way. So we set this to blue. That's going to allow it to receive inputs from the left-hand side. If you set aside to orange, which you can do by just left-clicking, that will set it to output. And so in this case, we do want to set it to output, but only once we have some storage drawers for the sand dust and the regular dust. And this is where we kind of go back to me saying that I want to try and centralize everything and bring all of this stuff into the simple storage network before we start sending it out to be crafted into transformational powder. So the way that I intend to do that is by kind of changing up the storage drawer system that we have over here. So I'm going to move a couple of these items that are in the way here. And what I think we're going to do is we're going to put down a bunch more storage drawers for kind of regular items. If we were to move the drawer controller to the center, I want to put that down right about maybe here, but I might end up moving this as well just for some symmetry. Let's go ahead and pick this up for the time being, and let's get rid of you and you. So let's put the drawer controller right there, and then we can start putting down more storage drawers around that drawer controller. What we can then do is if we get another link cable, we can connect that link cable to the drawer controller, and that's going to give our simple storage network access to everything in all of the drawers connected to that drawer controller. So in order to make more link cable, I think we first are going to have to make more network cable, but never mind. It turns out we have network cable ready to go. That is fantastic. And in the interest of tidiness, I think what I am going to try and do here is run this underwater. We probably also want to move, yeah, you know what? Okay, I'm going to move a few things here. I'm going to move the simple storage network entirely, and I'm going to move these chests as well. I think I'll try and put all of this stuff kind of over on this side of the base just to make things a little bit tidier. So I was in the middle of moving these golden chests here when somebody in the Twitch chat did point out that I'm doing this in a bit of an inefficient way. I was trying to move all the items manually to move the chests. But what we can do here is if we pulverize some wood over in our trusty pulverizer, what we should be able to do is get some sawdust. And if we take that sawdust, we can then craft that into the cardboard box from Mekanism. Like this. The cardboard box from Mekanism is super cool because you can right-click it onto a chest like this, or really any block you want. And then if you break that cardboard box, the cardboard box holds the chest inside of it while still retaining all of the items inside of that chest. So we can then place it down again over here, shift right-click, and now the chest is down, and it still contains all of the items that it had previously. And unfortunately, it is facing the wrong way for us. We might be able to rectify that if I do this. No, it's going to face the same way that it was facing when you put it down. I do think that there is a wrench. I think the crescent hammer from thermal expansion might be able to rotate these chests. For the time being, though, it's not a huge problem. We can move all of our gold chests over to here. And once all these are down, we can then go ahead and break the planks beneath these drawers. And I think it's going to look a lot cleaner if we then take these link cables and place them under the chests. That way they're not kind of just hanging around in the world. And I want to do the same thing as well for the drawer controller. So we're going to have these down like this. It's a little tricky to place them down from up here, but if we zoom in, you can squeeze them under there. You can also, of course, just swim down and place them under here. It's much easier to do it that way. But then I think what we'll do is we'll have our... what we could do as well is we could move our storage request table and our network route here. Let's place the network route like here. We'll place the storage request table here. We'll then connect the two of those up with pipes. And I have put my pipes away in one of these chests, so I'm going to have to try and find them real quick. There they are. We'll also grab that link cable while we're at it. What we can then do is we can just go ahead and connect this up like so. That's going to connect the network route to the storage request table. We can once again shift right click with our remote to link it to this route. That's going to show us ideally, oh yeah, nothing right now because it's not connected. But if we were to get rid of this slab and then this slab, which is so much easier done with our wetsuit on, we can then place a link cable onto the drawer controller, connect that up to the route like so, and now if we were to open up our crafting remote, it has access to everything in all of these storage drawers. So now what we need to do is get enough network cable, which I'm not sure if we're going to have enough of the Invar Constantan blend to make more of this. We might have to make more Invar Constantan blend before we can get enough cable. But we can get enough cable, and then we can run that, of course, along under the water, like this, and over to that pre-existing cable. We're so close. And boom, there is our extra network cable. The chat does make a good point here, in that what you can do is, oh no, we can't do this with the link cable here. So there is an upgraded version of the link cable. If we go down to the simple storage network here, there is a filtered link cable, and it might be worth us investing in a filtered link cable. The filtered link cable is basically a straight upgrade over the regular link cable. It does require 4 link cable to make, but thankfully we can just go ahead and grab that 1 link cable we've already placed down, and then if we just craft these 4 link cable into filtered link cable, which does require a regular barrel, which of course we can't craft in here because all of our stuff is in these chests, and currently the chests are not accessible. Let me quickly go ahead and get some wood, make some slabs, and then see if we can't make a regular Minecraft barrel. We totally can. Good stuff. And boom, there's the filtered link cable. So the filtered link cable allows you to, you guessed it, filter what goes into a connected inventory. So we could say, for example, we only want, I don't know, wool going into this chest. That's one way of using this. The only reason that I have made it, though, and the reason that I've upgraded from regular to filtered, is that the filtered link cable has the option to set priority. And so if we go ahead and open the link cable, you'll see in the top left here, there's a priority number. And we can either promote the priority by setting the number lower, or we can demote the priority by setting the number higher. So if we lower this to like -10, basically what that means is whenever we put something into the storage request table, so if we put like, you know, some Invar Constantan alloy into the table, right now that's going to go into one of these storage drawers because we've not locked them, which does remind me I should lock them. But what we want to happen, essentially, is we want an item that is placed into the storage request table to try and put the item into the drawer controller before it tries to put the item into any of these chests. So, for example, if we take bones here, we don't want these bones, if I were to put them in like this, I don't want those bones going into these chests when I hook them up. I want to make sure they go into this drawer right here. The way you do that is by using a filtered link cable and setting the priority of the drawer to be lower than the priority of the chest, which essentially, it sounds wrong with the lower number being the higher priority, but the lower the number is, the sooner it gets there. So setting that to -10 means it's the first thing that's going to get the items, and then if the items can't go in the drawer controller, that's when it will try and put them into one of these chests here. And so now if we just go ahead and place down that final link cable, like so, that should connect up all of our golden chests here, and if we go ahead and open up our remote, we now have access to everything in the system, including all of the stuff in these drawers, which is super useful because now what I want to do is I want to begin importing. You'll see here we've got the spillage, and the spillage is banned. What we can do is we're going to have to make so many more of these network cables, but we can make import cables, these ones right here, and there are also filtered import cables that do a similar thing to the filtered link cable. But if we get some import cables, which just require a wooden hopper, that is going to be not a problem, and boom, we can then place those import cables onto these barrels over here, and we'll probably end up having them on the top like this. We'll have those there, and then we'll run and connect those around to our pre-existing system, and what that's going to do is it's going to pull whatever items are in this barrel into the simple storage network. And if we have drawers allocated to flint and stone pebbles, for example, one here and one here, that will take all of those flint and stone pebbles and place it into these drawers. And then going forward, when we want to set up crafts like this, we can then go ahead, and I'll bookmark the import cable because we need it, but we can go ahead and make export cables, these ones here, which do the exact opposite. We can then put export cables on this drawer and tell the system to send the flint from here round and over into here. And again, because there's a storage downgrade on here, it's never going to send more than 64, which means the majority of our flint is still going to be in here and is still going to be usable for crafting, which not only makes our life easier, it means we don't have to go around finding where the flint is and bringing it back to craft with, but it also means that we don't have to worry about spillage, because if we ever get too much cobble or too much flint, we can just put a void upgrade onto this drawer, or an even larger storage upgrade onto this drawer to hold that extra capacity. Now, the way the current system is set up, we have kind of broken our mob farm here. The mob farm drops are not being sent to the system, and you can't have more than one draw controller in a draw network. So if I put another draw controller here, they wouldn't both work. However, that is where the draw controller slave comes into play, and I do believe we made one previously we did as part of a quest, the draw controller slave works exactly like a draw controller, but it's not the draw controller. So I don't know if you can manually put items into here. Like if I get some rotten flesh, can I do this? No, so you can't manually put items into the draw controller slave, but you can pipe items into the draw controller slave. And so you'll see now all of those extra mob drops have made their way into the draw controller slave. And so this works exactly how the previous system worked. And for the sake of symmetry, do we have more 2x2 draws? We do. I might go ahead and put that there as well. I might end up moving a few of these things. Like we might end up moving this chest and kind of hiding it back here potentially so that we could hide the draw controller slave as well, because I think in an ideal world, this would be symmetrical on both sides. But having all this extra space does allow us to also do stuff like this, where we have like our copper, our iron, our tin, and our aluminum, and basically all of our ingots and alloys more freely available for us to access at a glance. And it also allows us to store things like, pebbles and whatever other items we have a large amount of, deep slate. We can take all the deep slate here and place that into a drawer, which again then frees up more space in these chests, which relieves some of the pressure that we're currently feeling in terms of not having enough storage space. All right, so I didn't lock this drawer, which is why it's got gold armor in it. That's fine. I can fix that in the future. Now that's taken care of, let's see about actually fixing this then, shall we? We are going to have to get a lot more network cable. We don't need this anymore, so there's no need for this sifting system to be here. And I think I'm probably going to move the lava production system. Right now, it's kind of in the way. I really want to move this underwater. Like, I'd like to have a lower level where we have all of our lava production, because I think we're going to need a lot of lava, because each tier of resource generation requires a bucket of lava, right? Even though it doesn't require lava directly, in order to make the organic fluid, you need lava. And then the next tier after organic fluid is the skulking organic fluid, which again is made from lava. And so all of the resources that we're going to produce requires a ton of lava to make, which makes me think we're going to need a ton more of these fired crucibles. And I don't really just want to have like a sea of fired crucibles up on the surface. I'd like to have those on like a lower level of the base. Now the Twitch chat does make a good point. And that's that we do have compact machines in the pack here. And actually, as a quest reward for completing the final chapter challenge questline, we do get some very large compact machines. Compact machines, by the way, are essentially just these extra dimensions, little rooms that you can put that are in their own dimension. And so we could set up this 13 by 13 by 13 room, kind of cram it full of cobblestone generators and crucibles to produce a large amount of lava, and then just pipe the lava out of that compact machine into the real world. And that way, effectively, we just have like a compact machine on the ground and we just be piping lava out of it. That would be pretty nifty. And so we might try and do that. The only tricky part, by the way, about completing this chapter challenge questline is the ancient skulk. Because getting 8 skulking organic matter, easy. We have 8 amethysts, easy. We've got an extra heart of the deep. We can get the ender fragments from sifting. We can get gold and silver from sifting. We can make the compact machine. It's not too difficult. And we can also go and get some glowberries from the lush forest biome. The only tricky part is the ancient skulk, because the only way to get the ancient skulk is to go back to the deeper, darker dimension and go find another temple that has more of this stuff in it. And currently we have exactly 3 ancient skulk, but we need at least one of these, and preferably more than one of them, in order to actually produce the organic matter, right? You need to have that underneath the barrel to make this work. So that's going to be tricky. We're going to have to head back to the deeper, darker area. For now, though, I'm going to go ahead and tear down this monstrosity, and we'll see about repurposing it in a more efficient and better way that actually produces all of the 3 different tiers of organic powder. And we'll also look at getting some more network cable and see if we can't run that around to our simple storage network for this import cable as well. Okay, so I have made a few more network cable, and we've run a pipe along and up to this drawer. It doesn't quite connect currently because I did have to re-put down some of these fired crucibles here, because without the fired crucibles, we don't have any power, and without any power, I can't make more of the Invar Constantan alloy. And so temporarily, we do have some crucibles kind of just slapped down here to allow us to actually use our machines. If we do something like this, and by this I mean this, we can go ahead and get rid of that extra pipe that I placed down over here. That should now begin importing all of this stuff. It's going to pull it all into the system, and specifically into this drawer right here. I am going to go ahead and grab some of our B-Bucks out of the system and use those to purchase yet another emerald storage upgrade, which we'll put on here because we're going to get a lot of flint, a lot of gravel, and I want to make sure that we can store all of that in that drawer. Then what we want to do is we don't really need this, so I'll probably get rid of that in a second here. But what we want to do is we want to move this setup over here with all of the drawers and the structured crafter and bring that over here somewhere to allow us to begin crafting up the poor transformational powder, which we're then going to send into barrels of lava to produce the poor organic matter, which we can then sift with our little auto-sifting setup. We didn't quite get all of the iron meshes in here, but we'll slowly but surely add to those as we go. Now, we are going to need three lots of these, and so we might end up making the platform just a little bit wider. I believe I did make enough automats earlier. Yeah, we got 2 more, so we can make 2 more of these structured crafters, and we also need to get a bunch more storage drawers. Right now we have 5 regular ones. They don't necessarily have to be these full-size ones. I think any would work so long as you only had the right item in each drawer. But I think for simplicity's sake, it is going to make the most sense for us to just use the regular storage drawers here. So let's get just a bunch of chests, and then let's get a bunch of planks, and then let's see if we can't produce at least 18 of these regular storage drawers so we can set up all 3 of the crafts for the Skull King, Improved, and Poor Transformation Powder. So can I get 18 of these? I can. Nice. So let's go ahead and we'll break these guys here. All of them. These are going to be a little awkward because we have locked some of them to certain items. Most of them are empty though, and actually it's fine because we know that this one is flint because it doesn't stack on its own, and these 4 do stack on their own, which means that they are not flint, they are the pebbles. So let's go ahead and we'll have them facing this way, I think. We'll have the 4 pebbles down with the flint in the middle, like this. And getting to that last location there is going to prove a little tricky, but if we are careful, we can do this like that, and then we can put down the 4 empty drawers like so, and those of course are going to get the dust. Let's make sure that we lock all of those drawers, and then the Twitch chat made a very good point here, in that if we get another drawer controller, what we should be able to do is place that drawer controller underneath this 3x3 set of drawers. So if we go ahead and place the drawer controller here, this drawer controller has access to all of these drawers. And so what we can do is we can get 8 more downgrids. We can then right-click those onto all of the undowngraded drawers. And then now, instead of needing 9 export cables to export to each one of these individually, all we should have to do is make 1 export cable, which is just 4 network cables and an Invar Constantan alloy. If we now put an export cable down onto here, we can then connect that back up using a regular network cable to this line over here. That is going to require 1 more batch of network cable. Thankfully, I'm fairly certain we've got enough Constantan blend for it. The only thing we might be shy on is aluminum. Never mind, we're totally good. Let's take that. Let's connect that over here. And I think, in theory, that might just work. Let's have a look here. We've got 16 dust, we've got 16 pebbles, and we've got 64 flint. Is that going to export any of these? It's not. Okay, so it looks like we do have to specify what we want it to export, but the good news again is that we can just take all 3 of these, and then down in the exporter, we can just say export pebbles, dust, and flint. And what we should see in here now is that there's 63 flint, and we should hopefully see the number of pebbles increasing. Look, there's 40 there, and as that drawer fills up, it'll fill up the rest as well. I don't think there's a way to tell, like, the drawer controller to distribute amongst all of the drawers here, but I think that should be fine. It is going to start distributing once that bottom drawer is full, and eventually we'll get to a system where 1 set of each will be taken out, and then they'll be refilled, and then taken out, and then refilled, so it should be fine. Obviously, right now, we don't have any dust in our system. That is something that can be very easily rectified. Over here, we want to make sure that the bottom is set to output, and then if we put an input cable on the bottom of the pulverizer, again, it's going to be easier if we do it from up here. We can get rid of this barrel now. This is not needed. Again, neither is this whole setup over here. We don't need this second sifter. Okay, so I've cleared out that sifting system, and there we go. We now have the importer down on the pulverizer, so it should start pulling in all of this stuff here. We do want to make sure that we have storage drawers dedicated to dust and sand dust, and I'll put those here as well. These are kind of like the 4 main ingredients for at least the first 2 tiers of transformational powder. Also, let's quickly grab some more driftwood planks, and let's go ahead and fill in this unsightly hole that we have in the floor here. But so now this should be good to go. This should be getting more dust. It is. Look at that. They're all filled up. And then all we need to do now is get the crafter from over here and get this down in the right place, pointing into what is probably going to be this drawer right here. We do already have 2,000 poor transformational powder, but again, this will eventually run out and we're going to have to get more of it. So let's do... I don't think I can rotate this. Again, I don't think this wrench kind of does anything. It doesn't. So I'm going to have to put the drawer there, and then somewhat awkwardly, I think we'll have to kind of break the flint drawer, put this down like that, and then replace down the flint drawer. But that should be fine. And so now when we flick the lever or place a button or whatever it is on this, that will begin making the powder. We can get rid of this as well. We don't need this guy anymore either. And we can dump all of this stuff into the system. So now we just want to duplicate this same setup 2 more times. We'll put the next one here, and I think we'll extend the island a bit further for the last one. The next one is going to be for the improved transformation powder, and then the one after that will be for the skulking transformation powder. Now, the higher tiers of dust do require the previous tiers of dust to be made, and so I think what we'll do is maybe just use the link cable. We got a link cable here. If we put that down like that and then connect that up underneath, that's going to give the system access to this drawer, which means when we have the next set of drawers down, so the next set of drawers is going to go down over here like this, right? When we do that and we set this to export as well, or when we tell it to export what we want it to export, we can then have it pull from here and send it around into this center drawer. Now, one thing we can do here, by the way, is we can connect these two together, because if we're going to lock all the drawers, let me put these in. Let me get these drawers locked real quick. I think we have more stone pebbles, right, in the sides, like this, and this. And then is it just the sand dust? It is indeed just the sand dust. But what we can do here is we can place the sand dust in the corners. And then instead of making another drawer controller and another export pipe, because these are all locked, what we can instead do is just connect these drawers to this drawer controller. There are a few ways we could do that. For example, we could just put a drawer here and then add what we want to add to this filter. Right now, if I added the poor transformation powder to this filter, it would pull it from that drawer there and place it into this drawer here. That would work. Although I don't think this looks particularly good. Instead, what we can do is we can make what is known as trim. Trim is essentially a block that you can use to connect storage drawers to other storage drawers without having to make more storage drawers, if that makes sense. The trim is just a block that allows you to connect your drawers together. And even better than that, we can make this stuff right here, this framed trim. So framed trim is from the framed compacting drawers mod. And this mod basically adds all of the storage drawers, but with one notable difference, and that's that they don't have a texture. The reason for that is that you can use any texture you like. In this case, we want to use these driftwood planks as our texture for this trim. So if I put this here, like this, we can make the framed trim look like driftwood planks, like so. And then we can use this framed trim to connect this drawer to this drawer. I am going to need one more driftwood plank to make that work. Do I have one more driftwood log? I totally do. Fantastic. So let's do this, and then let's do this. And then what we can do is we can take those 3 trim, and we can place them here, here, and here. What that's going to do is that's going to connect this drawer to this drawer. So now, if we set this pipe here to export these two, in fact, we can already see that it's exporting too many stone pebbles because we've not put downgrades on there. So this is working. The stone pebbles are being exported there. The thing we want to do, though, is make sure that we get the downgrades in so that we don't end up overflowing this system. So you can't put a downgrade into a drawer that already has more than 64 items, so we are going to have to take a bunch of the pebbles out of there, put the downgrade in, and then refill it up to 64. But as we can see, this is now slowly but surely starting to fill up with all of those resources. So now we should do the same thing one more time for the skulking transformation powder, and we should have, at that point, fully automated the process of producing these 3 resources. Okay, so I've duplicated the setup again here with a bit of a larger platform, and we're almost ready to go. I put the trim down, so this is all connected up. It's connected to the same exporter. We should be almost good to go. We just need to fill these corners in with the echo shards. Now, the echo shards are interesting because we are going to have to set up a system, right? We craft the echo shards into the echo nuggets, and then we get echo shards as a byproduct of sifting the skulking organic matter. So after we do some sifting, which is going to be done over here, we're then going to have to loop the echo shards back. Again, we can probably have an exporter into some kind of crafter, or again, maybe some kind of compacting drawer over here that then pumps them back into here. Because right now we don't have an automated supply of these, but what we can do is go ahead and make sure that these drawers are locked to echo nuggets like that. And that should be good to go. As soon as we put the lever on, that should start making the required output there. People did say that over here, we can click the little Eye of Ender to import contents as filter. Look at that. Interesting. So that does pull all of the stuff that's in all of the drawers and just add it to the filter automatically. I don't know if the number necessarily matters. We'll find out, I guess, if we end up with no more than 2 echo shards in any one drawer. Not that that's a huge problem if that is the case, but that's a quick and easy way of setting the filter there, which is very nice indeed. So now, if we grab our lever and we turn, and I guess grab 2 more levers as well, so we can turn all these on, we should start producing all 3 of those matters, right? I'm going to do them on top just for the sake of symmetry. Ideally, though, they would be like here, boom, boom, and boom. And again, we want to make sure these are locked as well. So these 2 are connected. Actually, I think the second one might not be. Yeah, it's not. So we're doing a bit more link cable to actually get this second tier of organic powder piped around into here. But that should be fine. And then we're getting the skulking transformation powder as well, which is good. And then I think what we'll do is I think for each one of these, and also I do believe we got another block of bronze as a reward here for a quest that was added between streams. But I think for each powder, I think we'll have for now 3 barrels. So if we do like 1, 2, 3, we can put down 3 blocks of bronze, we can put down 3 stone barrels, and then we can use our item pipes here to just extract that around like so. We'll make sure that is set to extract using the old wrench. And we'll also give it an upgrade, and we'll set it to round robin as well. So that is going to distribute the items there. That's fine. And then we'll do the same thing in front of the other 2. This one, of course, requires... Oh, no, that's my bad. Okay, yeah, of course. So this one actually doesn't need anything underneath it. This one here just needs barrels of lava. It's the second one that needs the copper, that needs the bronze, because the second one is what is going to turn the lava into the organic liquid. I see. Okay, that is fine. Let's replace these down like that, and we'll make more barrels to put on there. And then the last one is where we need the ancient skulk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nice. And then we'll do the same here. We'll make sure all of these are set to extract. I think we should have more item pipes in the system. We do. We've got loads of them. So we'll do the same here as well. Make sure that all of these are set to extract. And we'll give them the same pipe upgrade with the round robin enabled. So the only thing now that is not working is the lava production, right? We actually need to get lava into all 9 of these barrels. And then I think what we'll also do is we'll probably move this sieve to be centered here, because right now it's just kind of a little oddly off-center. But I do think that probably for the time being, we can have all 9 of these barrels piped to the same location, because we have 9 sieves here. And so I don't think at any one time we're going to have more than 9 things that need to be sifted. So we'll move this over by 1, which should be fairly easy to do. We just move the clicker by 1, and we are going to have to make sure there's no water here as well, because as we learned previously, the sieves cannot be waterlogged. If they are waterlogged, it does not work. All right, so this has been moved and is now basically ready to go. All we really need to do is extract from these barrels and down into here. Now, with the highest tier here, with the new tier of organic matter, we don't need lava, we need the previous tier. So that's real awkward, because we've got lava here. We're going to send lava here, and that's just going to be used. We're then going to send lava here, and that lava is going to be transformed into organic fluid. And that organic fluid is going to be used to make the improved organic matter, right? The improved organic fluid to the improved organic matter. But then with the skulking transformation powder, we need skulking organic fluid, which is made from improved organic fluid. So for that, what we might actually want to do is we might want to get a second, like, layer of barrels. If we did like another 3 barrels, let's say here, that we put lava into and we put bronze underneath, that should make another batch of the improved organic fluid, and then we could extract that over into the stone barrel as well. So like 3 barrels here that don't have any pipe connection, so we'll disconnect those. But then if we put bronze underneath those and feed lava to them, we can then use fluid pipes, which again, we should have a few of left in the system. And if we put the fluid pipes down like this, we can have the improved organic fluid be made again here and sent over here to be made into the skulking fluid. I think that's going to be ideal. So the only thing now that is stopping this entire system from working is twofold, I think, actually. The first is we need like 2 more network cable. I have 2 network cable there, actually, but I think I need even more network cable because I'm fairly certain that the distance from this cable here, yeah, over to there is more than 2 blocks. We need like 2 more on top of that. That should be fine. I'm fairly certain that we have a little bit of spare aluminum somewhere. Yes, we've got more in our induction smelter. That is fantastic. That's going to get us the next bit of network cable. We can then quickly connect this up over here, and that's going to get the improved organic matter connected to the system. And so now that middle tier of organic matter, this one here, this transformation powder, is going to get piped around into here. So now the problem is just lava production, right? I think this area is starting to look a little bit better. Again, we're going to move a lot of this stuff. We're going to move like the dynamo. That's not going to just stay floating in the air, and we're going to move these machines here as well. But once those are gone, and once this is gone, like once these this little lava production here is gone as well, the whole setup is a lot tidier, I think, now, and a lot more effective at what it's designed to do. But we do need to get a lot of lava produced. And for that, I think it would be ideal if we could get the compact machine first. If we can get the compact machine, that's going to allow us to store like all of the lava production, and there's going to be a lot of lava production. There's going to be so many of these resource generators and of the fired crucibles. We can store all of that inside a compact machine and then just have that around here somewhere pumping lava into all of the 9 barrels that need that lava. And then from there, all of the matter should just be made and pumped around into the autosieve, which should then sift it, and the wares will be collected in here. From there, we can look at then auto compacting. There is a flux compactor, which would be nice, but it does require redstone, which we currently do not have access to. I think we have 1 redstone from our mob farm. Yeah, and we need at least 3 to get 1 flux compactor, which is going to take a long while, I think. So instead, we could use the automats, because again, it's only 1 resource, right? So having a thing be full of aluminum pieces is not a problem, or having a thing be full of mini coal, not a problem. So the automat could work. We could also use the sequential fabricator, another machine from thermal expansion that has recently had its recipe changed to make it a little easier to get in this pack. This is another machine that can do auto crafting for you, but we'll auto craft those, and then we'll have those sent around and into at least 1, if not multiple induction smelters, so we can begin smelting things like tin, copper, aluminum, etc. into their respective ingots, and then have those piped back around into their respective storage drawers as well. Unfortunately, though, chat, we are out of time for this episode of Seaopolis, so all of those problems are problems for future Isaac. But next time we'll come back, and I think we'll kick things off by seeing if we can't complete this chapter challenge questline. That is going to involve us doing a little bit of work in the compact questline, which does require that we make rose gold, which requires just, I believe, gold and copper, which is easy enough. We've got gold already, and we've got copper, so we can make the rose gold fairly easily. It does require that we actually complete this quest here, but like technically it's not required, but we'll probably go through it. We'll get some skulking organic matter, we'll sift it, we'll get some gold and silver, we'll work through a little bit of the compact quest line to get some compact machine wool. We'll then look at completing the chapter challenge, so we get all 3 of these compact machines, at which point we can then use those compact machines for our massive lava production. Once we have our massive lava production online, all the dominoes are going to fall down, and that's going to bring the whole resource generation system online, and then from there we can start looking at pushing forward into the electromage, into the gem age, down to the end, and then to the real end. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today's stream there.